Welcome to Political Buzz. I'm Phil Arno. As we draw close to the end of this election cycle, it might be good to put things into perspective. My guest on today's Political Buzz is Erie County Clerk Mickey Kearns. Mickey has been in politics in the city, county, and state level for several years. He is a registered Democrat and yet has won office on a Republican ticket. He has even run for mayor of Buffalo against Byron Brown. So I don't think there's anyone who understands more about what's going on in government around Western New York better than Mickey. So now I'd like to welcome to the show Erie County Clerk Mickey Kearns. Welcome, and tell us a little bit about what's going on with the clerk's office today.
Great. Thanks for having me, Phil. We are so busy at the clerk's office. As you know, we newly reopened up at the Eastern Hills Mall in a new location, and that is going quite well. We have filed our budgetary papers, and we'll be opening up once again in Evans at a brand new location. That will be our third new location that we're going to be updating in the clerk's office in our auto bureau division. And of course, we're bringing wait times down with our appointment system and our upgrade in technology. We're able to really bring more efficiencies to the auto bureau. I'd like to say it's not your grandparents' auto bureau anymore.
Well, you know, we have this reservation system. How hard is it to get on the site and make reservations?
If you go to erie.gov/appointments, you can get a reservation. But I do understand that there are some people that don't have access to technology. If you dial 858-8864, we have someone there that will make, a team of people that will make an appointment for you. We're going to get back now that COVID-19 is coming down. I do something called Clerk on the Go, and we go out in the community to educate them on the process. For example, the enhanced driver's license and real ID, that will be mandatory in May 3rd, my birthday, so I'm happy about that. It's a good birthday present, but 2023. And we think, oh, that's a long way away. But we're going into 2022, and after we were attacked at 9/11, it will be mandatory in order for you to fly domestically to have either a real ID, a passport, or an enhanced driver's license. So we go out to educate the public because these documents are federal documents. They have to be certified. So we want to make sure that when people come into the auto bureau, that their trip is a positive trip, and it's a trip that they will come back because Erie County receives 12.75% of all transactions stay in Erie County, which amounts to approximately $1.5 million.
Now, okay, explain to the people what the real ID is, because that's kind of a concept that we've heard about, but I don't know of anybody who's really said what that is specifically.
Sure. So right now in New York State, you have the opportunity to secure 3 driver's licenses. The first is your standard New York State driver's license that you can go in if you're a New York State resident, show proper identification, 6 forms of identification, your birth certificate, your address, proof, a credit card statement, proof of, of some type of home ownership, and other types of documentation that we take. That is your New York State standard driver's license. In order to meet the real ID, the federal requirement that was passed after 9/11, a real ID license is for someone who may be here legally, a student, maybe a doctor who's training here, a foreign doctor who's living here, who's not yet a citizen. They could secure a real ID that could be used to fly from, say, Buffalo to Florida. And then the enhanced driver's license is a document, is the third license, and that's only for United States citizens. That can get you across the border into Canada, into Mexico. That could be for land crossings, but in addition to that, of course, for flying. So you're gonna need original documentation, an original Social Security card, an original birth certificate, not a church birth certificate. We try to tell people that. And in addition to that, we say this to many of the people who are married or are divorced, you have to prove the name change along the way. So it could even be a divorce decree. So it's a very complicated transaction. So we go out to senior citizen centers, we go out to areas where there maybe are language barriers, and we do our best to educate people prior to them coming into the Auto Bureau. So it's an important document to have, especially in the future. I know not many people are thinking about it. You can get that change of license prior to the expiration of your current license, and there will be a small fee for that. But it's something that I encourage people to do, because as we get closer to the deadline, there are lots of people that wait till the last minute, Phil.
Right.
You know the lines are going to get a little bit longer, and we don't want people having to make 2 or 3 trips. You want that proper documentation.
Now, you said 6 different forms of identification are acceptable. Does that mean you have to have all 6, or you can choose a certain number of those 6?
You have to have 6 points of identification.
Okay.
And for the federal government, remember, this is going to be our first federal ID. So every state in the United States, you know, you'll be required to have this enhanced driver's license. If you've been to the airport, many people already have them, and I get the question, I already have the enhanced driver's license.
Like I have one now.
You're good. When you go in to renew your license, you're all ready, you're all set, and you're ready to go. So we're trying to encourage people who want that documentation to get it sooner than later to come in. In addition to that, passports, we don't process passport applications. We accept passport applications, but we work very closely with the State Department. And right now, there's a 3-month lag for getting a passport. So we work out of our one facility, our downtown facility at 92 Franklin. In addition to that, we're at the Southgate Plaza, where we have a new community center. We're looking to come here at the Eastern Hills Mall to open up a community outreach center here at the Eastern Hills Mall. That's in the planning stages. But if people say, hey, I want to go to Ireland, or I want to go to Italy to visit the relatives, or I want to go to the Middle East, but I want to go in October. Well, wait a second. You not only have to plan your trip, you're going to need the proper passport documentation. And if you come to the clerk's office, there are exceptions made by the State Department for business transactions. You're going to have to meet with them and hopefully meet one of those emergency situations, which usually isn't normal travel. So if you're traveling on a trip and you're preparing, I would encourage people who are watching this, go through all your important documents, including your passport, and say, is it up to date? Because people forget when they last time they renewed their passport.
Yeah, you're taking your chances if you don't prepare well ahead of time in today's world. Peeling license plates.
Yes.
You know, give me an update on that, because
Sure.
a long time ago that started happening. Is that just with the yellow and black?
So when I was in the New York State Assembly, that was I never knew I was going to be the Erie County Clerk. That was sort of bone of contention of mine, and I used to talk to the former clerk, now Congressman Jacobs, about it, and I helped co-sponsor some legislation dealing with the peeling plates. New York State entered into an agreement with a third-party vendor. Was not a good agreement. We had peeling plates. The plates that are on my vehicle today are nearly almost 20 years old. So that was a great vendor. But there was a change in the technology, and with the cold weather in New York State, they weren't anticipating that would encourage peeling to go on. So what I've done since I've been the clerk is that if you have peeling plates, and it gets a little technical, so you have to pay attention. So if my plate was ABC 123 and I had peeling plates, you can come in to any clerk's office. We'll take those plates and we'll give you new plates at no cost. So you can turn them in and take those plates, those new plates. So instead of having ABC 123, I turn them in, they were peeling. Now I have EFG 456. But if I come in as a customer and I said, hey, you know, I have some sentimental value. ABC 123 was my father's or my mother's or my sister's or my brother. Those have to be custom. So there is a small charge, and we work with New York State on that. And then those plates, you bring in your other plates, and then those plates get sent to you from New York State. So custom plates, vanity plates, there's a little bit of a different process, but we will help you through that process. And if you have any questions, you can always contact my office at 858-6985. That's my direct number, and we'll be happy to help you. But if you have peeling plates, please, I've talked to many different law enforcement agencies. They're talking about ticketing once again. They gave people a break during COVID-19, but there's no excuse. I get a little frustrated. I have cards I carry with me. I go, please, you can come into the Auto Bureau. We'll change these plates out. And it is a safety concern, especially for law enforcement, that you have clear plates that they can see your plate, especially when you're traveling down the thruway.
It's a little ironic to get a ticket for a plate that was issued by the state and it's defective.
Correct.
I can understand people who
Well, that was
like
one
that,
of
but
yeah, and that was one of the things we said for a long time is that it is ironic that New York State enters in some of these deals. They're not really smart deals, but they should be holding the vendor accountable. And believe me, the legislature has been screaming about that. And I do think that the new plates and the new vendor are working out much better.
Yeah. Well, we have about 1 or 2 minutes left in this segment.
Sure.
Let me ask you a question about the system for the auto bureaus. If you don't have an appointment, are there times where you can come in without an appointment?
So the way we're doing this is we track this. I use analytics at the Auto Bureau. Never been used before. I use it in all the departments, the registrar's office, the pistol permit office. It used to take 18 months to get a pistol permit. We got that down to a month. We've changed all of the appointments, even down, because of COVID-19, especially down at the registrar's office. We've changed where you need an appointment. We use a ticket system. But to answer your question, what we do with the appointment system is we have a set number of appointments each day. The beginning of the morning, we've now changed our hours. We're open up at 7 a.m. in the morning to be more convenient for people. I've heard the people, they said, hey, I can't make a Saturday. Can you open earlier? So we're open from 7 to 5 at most of our locations. If you go to erie.gov/Auto Bureau, go look at our schedule. But you may get lucky. We set aside so many appointments a day. If all of those appointments are taken, Phil, we may not be able to take you. So you're taking a chance, you're taking a risk. We try to help people, but the appointment process is the best way to guarantee a quick appointment. And we're averaging literally 5 to 8 minutes for these appointments. If I would have told you that, people would never believe me. But I'm getting more and more calls, and our complaints have come down dramatically. So I'm very proud of that.
Okay. Well, all right. Well, we're done with this segment. When we come back, we're going to get into a little bit of the local politics in the area and talk about the upcoming election. So stay tuned. Welcome back to the show. My guest is Mickey Kearns, our Erie County Clerk. And Mickey, you have been involved in the political theater for a long time now. On state level and county level, you're in Buffalo, and you have, I'm sure, been observing what's going on locally. Interesting race for the mayor of the city of Buffalo. Probably more interesting than in a long time. What are your thoughts?
The mayor's job is a very important job. I was a candidate for mayor back in 2009. I lost to Byron Brown in that race. I'm very proud to say we did win 5 election districts of the 9. We gave a spirited race. But you know what, Phil? When that race was done, I met with Mayor Brown and I shook his hand and I said, we're going to work together as a team. I was a South District Council member, and that's what I wanted to bring to government. I had a business background before I got in government. You run the race, and then after the race is over, you work as a team for the betterment of the taxpayer. I don't know if that's going to happen this time, whoever wins. I think it's a very interesting race because you're learning about concepts. When I was running for mayor, we were talking about housing issues. We were talking about police issues, but it wasn't talking about defunding the police, having less police. We were talking about how we can get more police on the streets, how we maybe could do more community policing. So the way the pendulum has swung to where law enforcement has become the enemy, and you have laws coming from Albany, bail reform, where criminals are coming back on the streets so quickly. We need a strong presence of law enforcement in our communities, because they always say, you not only buy the house, you buy the community. And the number one issue for not only residents, but remember, a lot of business people commute into the city, and a lot of people do business in the city, and they come to do recreation. They do lots of things in the city of Buffalo. It's a great, great city. But if they're not safe, they're not coming. And they're going to stay in the suburbs. So we rely on that revenue and income. So it's a much different race than when I ran back in 2009. It seems like quite a long time ago. But I cannot believe some of the issues that some of the candidates are proposing for our city.
Well, you know, that brings up some of the things that I've said in some of my introductions to this program, is that even if you don't live in the city of Buffalo, it's an economic center for all of Western New York. And the way Buffalo goes economically, we all share. And so you have to be concerned, even if you're not a resident. Socialism has become a topic in this race because one of the candidates is a self-described social democrat or democratic socialist. I'm not sure what the difference is. But a generation ago, socialism was kind of looked upon as not a good thing. Today, polls have been taken and it's more and more accepted. And I'm not sure whether that's a result of people not understanding what socialism is, or whether that's a movement on the part of the people of the country, just changing their attitude towards what socialism is. Is there any explanation?
Well, we've always had government and business working together. And when the government needed to, you had the strikebreakers, you had Harry Truman, and he broke up the strike, the steel workers. You can't have a monopoly in this country. The NFL does, but you're not supposed to have a monopoly. And you said it right, Buffalo is the economic center of Western New York. And what's concerning is many of our fathers and our grandfathers uncles fought in wars, and they understood about democracy and freedom, and we sort of got to see that up in our face. I was not drafted. I did not serve in the military. My father was a Korean veteran. He told me about the war, not the bad stuff, but, you know, respect for law enforcement and our veterans. It's become now today with social media a me society. If it's good for me, that's all that matters. Before, you knew your neighbors, right? You cared about your neighbors. You understood who your neighbor was. If someone was out of work, you know, the kids you went to school with. There's that lack of community, and it's more of a me society. So when we talk about socialism, hey, if it's good for me, if it's me, it's me, 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 me. Well, where is it about us? You know, John Kennedy said, ask not
what your country can do for you. Ask
what you can do for your country. It's not ask what the country can do for you. And this is what we're seeing a lot of. My point is, with socialism, and we talk about the programs, we were, the United States, on the brink of economic disaster when FDR said, we're going to have these different programs to put people to work, to get us through till the economic engines catch up. And we were devastated by war. We had a World War I and II. Now, what we're seeing is that it's a movement, and people don't understand that movement. People don't read the newspaper anymore. People don't pay attention to the news. And you remember, a high school education at one point in time was enough to get you into an entry-level job. Many people today, what they read on the internet is what they believe is to be true. So our school systems might be failing us, and there's a lack of a teaching in the schools of what democracy is and what good government is. And you know, I blame that on the school systems, and I do blame it on the family. And I gotta say this, as families used to have dinner-side conversations about politics to educate their kids about the importance of voting, what was important for the community, and what was important for the country.
Well, the whole country, it seems, over the past, well, maybe the past 100 years, has seemed to go in the, and I'm not going to say right or left, I'm going to say it's gone in the direction of bigger government. Government has become more involved in the lives of the people and controlled more of the lives of the people. I said on a previous show, back in the 1950s, the average taxpayer paid about 3% of their income to the federal government. That's unheard of today. I mean, I did a story when I was in Los Angeles on tax day, as a matter of fact, about what the average taxpayer pays out of their income in taxes to all government, local, state, and federal. And by the time we added it all up, plus the hidden fees that go to a government in one form or another, we got beyond 60%. I mean, by the time you add the taxes that are on a gallon of gas, for instance, or if you're sinful and you buy a pack of cigarettes, or a bottle of spirits, whiskey, wine, whatever, and you add the taxes that are into that, the things that you don't think about that go to the government, it adds up, and it just keeps on adding up. The taxes that the farmer pays that goes into the price of a head of lettuce, for instance, and then that head of lettuce gets on a truck, and the trucker pays road taxes to get it to the grocery store or the warehouse. It gets added and added and added, and that all goes to the government. And the government yet says that they don't have enough money because they need to raise taxes. It just has grown and grown and grown, and government never gets smaller. It gets bigger, in our lifetime anyway. It's never ending.
Government is more complex today. And I think government, I always say this about at the local level, maybe back in the older days, there were some, put your feet up on the table jobs out there. The local town officials are working hard. They're facing complex issues in their community. I know at the state level, we're facing many very complex issues such as global warming. We're having more storms. Where is that coming from? And, government is more complex. There's more people. Our population from the 50s to today, there's more people that are on government assistance today than at any other time. So I think when you add that in, all fill together, but you're right. The one thing that I think is missing, and I saw it in Albany, is accountability to the budget. And there's really not a transparency in our budget anymore. Many of our Congress people who represented us, they don't even read the budget. They do a voice vote to vote on something. They don't go through page by page. I remember hearing the stories of Mario Cuomo meeting with the legislators, and we had some really good, solid elected officials. We had some debate, and literally I tried my best to go through that budget to understand everything that I was voting for. And if I didn't understand something, I would vote no. And if enough legislators would start voting no, I mean, we're talking about right now building a new stadium with $1 billion of public subsidy. We should be having hearings, public hearings, conversation, dialogue, not to stop to get the bills not to be here, but it seems as though that the public and even elected officials are an afterthought in the process. Let the leadership decide this stuff. So there's a lack of transparency, and what's happening is the complexity of government has changed, and instead of being more transparent, it's less transparent.
Well, we've got an election, and it's happening now. I'm going to put you on a spot. In the city of Buffalo, over the last 15 years, well, let's put it this way. Every election, when there's an incumbent, the people running against the incumbent say, we need a change, okay? We need to improve things. We need to do things better. We're going to do it. We're going to be better than the person who's in there. Over the last 15 years, there's been some progress in the city. There's been a slight increase in population for the first time in forever. There's been some development, the medical corridor, downtown, the canal area of downtown. Do we have progress over the last 15 years that is positive? We can always do better, but is it a trend that has broken with the past where we have done better in the last 15 years, or should we have been doing better than we did? Do we need a change, in your opinion?
Here's the problem that I see. I've been an elected official for nearly 16 years. I've been at the local level. I was a City of Buffalo Common Council member. I was a state official. And
you ran for mayor.
And I ran for mayor. And I'm a county official. To me, I'm a big advocate of term limits. I think especially for executives, you know, in a legislative body, new, fresh ideas can come in, but they're balanced by other officials that have been there for a longer time. There's more debate. When you're the executive, and I told you this as the Erie County Clerk, when the pandemic hit, and I talk about bringing certainty in uncertain times, I'm not just saying that. The business community was essential. We could have shut down the business community because if you can't file any transaction at the registrar's office, business isn't happening. That means buildings aren't being transferred. That means buildings sit vacant and abandoned. You can't register your car. That means the people, the dealers who generate the most sales tax in Erie County can't sell those vehicles. That's not happening. We generated a $5 million surplus. We work with the business community. We work with the legal community. We work with the financial community. You know what? That took experience and leadership to get that done. I had a good team. We worked together. This job of mayor of the city of Buffalo is a complex job where these things, approvals, planning, they just don't happen overnight. You need someone that has experience. Do I think that at some point in time, voters should get an opportunity? Yes, every 4 years. But I'm a big believer that whether it's the mayor, the county executive, we need term limits. I carried the bill in Albany for that, our federal officials, and we could get the cleaning of the offices once every 12 years. Get new leadership in there, new ideas. And I can't Monday day quarterback to say, could we have done better? Of course we could always do better. We could always try our best to bring more business to our community. But we've had some failures, and I feel as though that where we are as a city, we're at a crossroad, and we have to protect the institutions like our law enforcement and safety of our public. Well, we're not going to have a city. We're not going to have a city. So those basic things, yes, I do think that there should be a vetting of every candidate, including myself, on what we've done, and there should be a debate on ideas, on what we should be discussing, and whether some of those things I proposed or anyone proposed. But yes, it's going to be interesting, and we're seeing right now a spirited debate between both candidates, and the voters are going to decide on November 2nd who the next mayor will be of the city. But experience counts.
I think it does. Okay, well, there you have it. We're out of time now for this segment, and go out and vote. This is a very important election. A lot depends on it. I thank you for watching this Political Buzz. It was important, and hopefully some information that will help. I thank Vicki Kearns for being my guest on this Political Buzz. I thank you for watching WBBZ-TV, your only local TV station. We really appreciate it. We'll see you next time on Political Buzz.